a different kind of video today, but I really wanted to record this because I think partly it will be helpful for me, and I think also I really want it to be helpful for anybody else who has gone through what I'm currently going through, which is the loss of my best friend in the whole world, my lovely dog Lily. I'm probably going to cry through this video. I make no apology for it because it's just how it is at the moment. It's 12 days since she died, and she has been a big part of my life for over 10 years. So it's a long time, and in that time she's been with me through all the ups and downs, and boy, we've had some experiences. So I just really wanted to record this video because I know that sometimes we don't share this part of what it means to go through grief. And as somebody who runs an online business, who coaches people through difficult periods in their lives, and I do that as a coach, as a mentor, and I do that with the tagline, self-imposed, largely tagline, Queen of Calm. And so I think it's really important to share what life is like for me when it's really not calm, and how I approach this situation as I would approach any crisis in my life. I think this probably the hardest thing I've ever been through, honestly. For those of you who are watching this, chances are you feel exactly the same way about animals as I do, that they are just angels in animal bodies. Honestly, I just can't think of another way of describing that unconditional love that you get from a pet. And so if you're there at the moment and you're experiencing this, then I just want to say to you, I feel for you. I really feel for you, because that's what I'm going through, and I don't see an end to it in a way. I don't see it changing. I know that through the grieving process things will change, but certainly it won't put me off having another pet. They give us so much, don't they? They just give us so much. I said I wasn't going to edit this video, so I have to leave everything in and be okay with that, and that's kind of like a challenge for my logical brain as I'm recording this. This is the first video that I've recorded. I often record videos for my business. This is not something out of the ordinary, but it's the first video that I've recorded since she died. And I'm in a different room. Those of you who watch me regularly will know that I normally record in my office, which is downstairs. And because it's the place that Lily and I spent all of our time together, that was hers. It was her den. We called it the dog den, and also my office. And she would have access to the garden. She'd be running around. And I'm really finding it very hard to be in there at the moment. Still finding it very hard to go in there. I got my guinea pigs, my boys. I'm going in obviously to feed them, to put them out on their run, to just talk to them. But I'm finding it very hard to actually be in there working for any length of time. I'm really fortunate that I was able to take some time off. I did take some time off work while we were in the last week of Lily's life, and I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. I only work with a small number of clients. Everyone was really understanding, and I was able to just give her that time, which I'm just really happy about. I'm really happy that she was my exclusive focus really for the last week of her life. And it was pretty stressful because she was going downhill, but at the same time we were getting her treatment, and there was a plan in place. There were scans being done, and actually until Saturday, she died on the Sunday the 14th, Valentine's Day, and actually up until that Saturday morning, she'd had this scan on Friday, and we'd ordered some tablets that were coming in on Monday, and I kind of came away from the vets reassured that we had a plan and that this was something that would resolve over time. And in fact, I was told that it could take 3 weeks for the tablets to really take an effect. And so it sort of took me by surprise that she continued to go downhill as fast as she did on Saturday and Sunday. And at the same time, I was kind of like preparing myself, and I had already sort of started preparing myself for the eventuality that she might not get through this. And so I'd started thinking about some of the things that I knew I would want to prepare for, like would I have her cremated, or would she be buried, and that sort of thing. And although part of my mind didn't want to go there, in a way I'm kind of glad that I did. And I found it too hard at the time because I was trying to support her to get better. I found it too hard to I knew I'd find it too hard to speak to anybody in the event that it happened. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper what my wishes were for Lily, for the vet. And I knew that just by writing it down, I literally would have it there in the event that happened, just to take the pressure off me. And actually, I do think that is, just looking back on it now, the reason I did that is because I'm so accustomed to thinking ahead, planning ahead, and thinking about how I can take pressure off myself. Because, this is obviously something that Lily was going through. She was, I didn't know it at the time, but she was in the last few days of her life, and she was fighting a gallbladder disease, which was probably extremely painful, certainly in the very last stages. And I'm so glad that she didn't have to suffer for long. But she was dealing with that. But at the same time, I was also dealing with the thought that she might not get through it and what that would mean. And obviously, that's where I am now, actually experiencing the physical loss, which I'm not going to sugarcoat. It's really painful. It just is. It's the hardest thing that you'll ever go through. It really is. And it's been like this every day. I mean, the first few days, I was mainly crying. And a lot of those tears were silent tears because we were into a new working week, and I was at home with my partner, and he continued to work, obviously. The relationship I had with Lily, she's my dog, and my partner did not have the same relationship with her that I did. And in fact, because of early childhood experiences, he's never going to love a dog in the same way you think so. I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened. People have grown to love dogs that didn't in the past, but because of that, really he was not experiencing the same level of emotion that I'm experiencing, and will continue to. But there have been many, I think, particularly in those first few days, I couldn't focus on anything other than just what I needed to do to get through the day. And I was really, really kind to myself. And that's probably the one thing that I'd encourage you to do if you find yourself here right now, is to just allow things to be what they are and not criticise yourself, not beat yourself up. I know a lot of people feel guilty, they wish they'd done more. we sort of remember all the times that we were annoyed with our pets. That's normal, it's life. They experience the fullness of life with us, and they hold none of it against us. And I also truly believe that we always do the best we possibly can for our pets. If we love our pets, you might say, I wish it had happened differently. I wish I'd done something differently. What if I'd done this or not done that? What if I'd gone to the vet sooner? What if I'd forced her to take tablets? What if I had not forced her to take the tablets? You know, these are the sort of things that, you know, some of those have been going through my mind, even though I was in this amazingly fortunate position of being able to give my time, at least in the last days, to Lily's recovery, or as it transpired otherwise. Guilt is normal. Guilt is just part of it, and we'll always wish we'd done things differently, or wonder whether we could have done things better. And I know that I can be a better pet owner in the future as a result of that as well. But in those first few days, that was not the time to be judging, criticising. It was the time, and I recognised it was the time to be gentle to myself. And so I would really encourage you to do that too. For me, that meant, you know, going in the bath and just getting dressed instead of sitting around in pyjamas, because that made me feel better to just get dressed. It also meant allowing my thoughts to be whatever they wanted to be, to allow myself to stare out of the window and do nothing, to think of her and cry and miss her physical presence. There were some things that happened too. I sensed that she was around and that she was sending me messages, and it was lovely to just be open to that as well. For example, I was watching a program on TV, and it was a series, so we were in the middle of watching it, and I didn't really feel like doing anything in the evening, so we were watching this program, and the two main characters were called Lily and Chloe, and Chloe is Lily's auntie that passed away last year. And I just took that to be a lovely reminder that there is I believe there's an afterlife. The Bible doesn't actually say very much about pets. Doesn't really cover that in any way. But certainly in terms of a physical body and a spiritual soul, that is one of my core beliefs. And so I take great comfort and reassurance that there is a soul that continues in some form, and we don't know exactly what that form is, but in some sort of energetic spiritual form that we don't have experience of. But the number of things, and I started writing them down. Please do write down any sort of like weird things that happen that you think, oh, is that kind of like a message, sort of something that lets me know that she's still around. You know, I think it's really helpful to write these things down. And it can feel like you're going a bit stir crazy as well. I think that's normal too. And not everyone will get this, and this is a very private journey as well. And so definitely this is not something, oh gosh, I mean, I'm sharing it with the internet now. But I haven't even shared that with my partner. But he knows me, and so he knows who I am and what's important to me. I don't need to share absolutely everything. And some of those moments are private, and some I've shared with my dad, and some I've shared with people who were really close to Lily, who had their own relationship with her. And I found it really helpful actually just to keep a little record of those things. The other thing that I've actually found really, really helpful. And this is something that you could think about if you are really struggling right now. One of the things that I found helpful was to put my energy, the energy that I had, into creating memorial type things. So things that I wanted to do to pay tribute to Lily's contribution. Contribution doesn't seem really right. It's not her contribution to my life. She shared everything with me. I mean, literally everything. She was with me through everything. But yeah, I found it really helpful to do some tribute related things. So what I'll probably do is in the description, I will share links to some of the things that I've been doing to create memorial tributes to Lily. And you could check them out and see if it's something that you want to do as well. So going back to when I was kind of making preparations, I knew that I wanted to have Lily cremated. And so I'd done a little bit of research in that final week. I didn't know if I was going to need it or not, but I did the research to see what it involved in terms of individual cremation, because I wanted to have her ashes and for them to be used to make some beautiful pieces of jewellery. It was something that a friend of mine had done when one of her dogs died a few years ago, and I know that she's had other pieces made since. And that felt to me like a really, really good thing to do, that I would have her always. And so I'd researched some companies. Really, I think in this area, actually, the quality is quite, in terms of, how things are made and things, is really variable. And I just wanted to make sure that I was using a reputable company. Obviously, I haven't got the pieces yet. They take a long time, and also you have to wait for the whole cremation process to come through and for the ashes to come back. That can take a couple of weeks. So that's not something that I've sort of put it in train now, but I'll tell you a bit more about that. But yeah, that was something that I knew I wanted to do, and because my friend had used this company before, it was at least a recommendation. And then I went on their Facebook page, and they had the most amazing reviews, tributes. People posted pictures of their loved ones that they'd lost and the beautiful jewellery that had been made from their ashes. And I just thought, yeah, this is definitely something I'm going to do. So that was quite a useful thing actually to have been through, because it meant that when that awful, fateful call came to say that that Lily had gone, I'll tell you a little bit about her final hours. It was on the Sunday evening, and I'd arranged a video vet consultation with the emergency vet to see what they thought, because she was going downhill so fast. And at that point, I was really hoping that she would pull through, and I thought she might need some support overnight to do that, to get to the point where my vet would be open and I could ask their advice, and we'd have these tablets that she was going to start from the Monday. But I think also in my mind, I knew that it felt like, to me, because she was cold, she was going cold, and so I knew there was an issue with her heart, that her heart was affected, and I was really just concerned that she was in pain. I didn't want her to be in pain. And also I think I knew that her body potentially could be shutting down, and so I wanted to make sure that she was as comfortable in that process as she could be in the event that she died. So I'd arranged this video consultation, and then subsequently we went to the vets, and honestly I think she was like 90-something% gone. She was on her journey already, and there was very little fight left. We had the conversation that pet owners always talk about, which is, look, if you need to go, please don't stick around for me. hard as it is to say that and mean it. Certainly now. But yeah, at the time, I knew that I needed to give her that, because I've heard people say that, you know, they're really aware of their animals holding on just for their human. And I didn't want that to be the case. I wanted to do my best by her. So the conversation went along the lines of, if you need to go, that's fine, you can go. And if you want to wait and you want to try the tablets and you think you can hang on, then that's okay too. But if this is the end, then... And I wasn't crying when I said this. I was as calm as I could possibly be. I think they know. They obviously they're tuned to energy. They're so tuned to energy, like we are, and they know what we're truly going through, and they have such compassion. But at the same time, I know that I can find a centre in myself where I'm more grounded and more calm, and we all can. And it's what I teach. So if I can practice that in the most difficult situation that I could possibly ever conceive of facing, then it's because I've done the work. It's because I can find a place of calm. I'm trying to find it now. So we'd had the conversation, and so we went to the emergency vet, and effectively, well, because of COVID, I wasn't allowed in there anyway, but they said they would rerun blood tests and rerun the scan that we'd had done only on the Friday, and based on which my vet had suggested treatment in the form of these tablets. And the emergency vet said they were dealing with some other emergencies, some younger dogs that were critical, and that they would call me when they'd done the scan. And they called me a couple of hours later to say that she'd had a heart attack on the table during the scan. And obviously it's heartbreaking. Literally, for both of us. But at the same time, now that I look back on it with hindsight, I know that when we lifted her into the car, she couldn't walk. Well, she'd managed to get herself off the sofa, but she had so little energy in her then. And I knew that she was pretty much there. I hoped in my heart of hearts that I'd be picking her up the next morning, but I think I knew. And because I thought about cremation beforehand, when that call came, and obviously you have that moment where you just have to cry, let it out. And yet you also have to answer the questions as to, you know, what next, and it's the last thing you want to do in that moment. And I'm sure the people at the vets they're so well trained, they're just naturally so compassionate that they give you the time that you need. I mean, even with COVID, whatever you're facing, and, you know, whatever emotions need to come out and when they come out. But I was obviously trying to hold it together to say what I needed, to say what needed to happen next. And because I'd given that some thought ahead of time, I'd already researched prices and things like that. And so I asked them what the options are. I said, you know, I really want Lily to be individually cremated, that I'm going to have a piece of jewellery made, and So it's really important that she's individually cremated. And I said I'd looked at a few places, but you know, do they have any options? Because often vets have their own arrangements that are made. And they said they used a company called CPC, which I actually hadn't researched at the time, but I think it was £250 to have the individual cremation done and to get a scatter tube of ashes back, which I thought was what needed to happen. And I have to say, her ashes were back within a week, just over Tuesday, and it's Friday as I'm recording this. The ashes came back on Tuesday. I collected them Wednesday night. And I have to say that it was so beautifully done, so sensitively done. And the emergency vets now in Alresford near Winchester, thank you, because they put a little card in which I couldn't bear to read the first night, but I finally, like after an hour sitting there looking at it, I've eventually opened the box with the ashes in and opened the card, and it was a sympathy card from them. Oh gosh, these are the little things that, you know, you sort of, I think the first few days when I was doing these memorial type things, the jewellery, I must tell you more about that. I'll put the link in the description, in the description. But basically, it's a company called Ashes into Glass, and they only need a few, like actually just a teaspoon of ashes, and they make all sorts of lovely jewellery. I'm actually having a ring made, which I think could be really nice, a bead that can go on a necklace. And I think when you're in those first few days, it can be really helpful. I've certainly found it really helpful to be doing those sorts of things. It makes you feel like you're doing something for a start. If you're the type of person like me that's accustomed to having quite not a busy life exactly, but I mean, I love my work, and I love my routines, my morning routine, my evening routine. And overnight, all of that just stopped because I didn't realise just how much my routines were basically all around Lily. She was a massive part of every part of my life, but particularly my morning routine, feeding her, letting her out, playing with her, us getting set up for the day. And evening wise, again, there were just things that we did. There were songs that we sang, you know, that I'm not sure whether I can strictly say that Lily sang to me, but there were songs that I sang and that she would listen to, and they were part of our morning and evening routine as well. And overnight, it's just gone. And that was one of the other things that I really wanted to say in this video, because one of the other things that I found really helpful is to recognise that you can't just switch into a new routine. I certainly found that I couldn't. After Lily died, it's taken me all this time to even start thinking about wanting to do things differently. And I guess recording this video in this room as opposed to the dog den / office, you know, I'm quite enjoying recording in here. The light's good and it's quiet, and I might do that again. But I haven't really yet got myself into a new sort of morning routine, and it still feels very empty and very quiet in the office. And it's only now, sort of like 12 days later, that I'm starting to think, yeah, you know, I really need to think about what I need to do in that room to make it feel more like I'm moving towards the future now. Because I felt sort of in limbo, really. There's been way too much of that feeling of emptiness and not stagnation. Stagnation popped into my head, but it's not really that. It's just not movement, stillness, but not a peaceful stillness, a kind of, I don't know, empty stillness, really. So yeah, and I think, it comes back to being gentle with yourself. You've been through a really traumatic thing, and this is a very difficult thing to get over. Losing somebody so close to you who was so much part of your life in a physical way, so much part of everything that you did, everything that you thought, I used to talk to her all the time, and now those thoughts are just in my head. Feels just less, I don't know. Yeah, just feels like loss. Just feels like loss. And, it's hard, so be really gentle. Just do what you need to do. And I hope you're surrounded by people who support you in that. I know it must be really hard if you're not. I haven't, because my partner feels very differently about dogs, about pets. Pets generally didn't grow up with pets. I perhaps haven't shared as much as I have with others that do, other dog owners that I know, dog lovers. And that's okay, but I do know that there's support there. I do know that whatever I need, he is okay with that, and so I can't imagine what it's like if you don't have that. And so please don't let anybody tell you that this, you hear people who say, oh, they're just a dog, you need to get over it. I can't imagine anything more cruel than to say that to somebody. And at the same time, I know that it's an opportunity to really just stand in your own truth on that I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not ashamed of that. Frankly, if I'm grieving for the rest of my life, that's okay. There's no time limit. There's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. So, have I shared everything? I'll maybe tell you some of the other things that I've done by way of memorial. So the jewellery, I was able to choose that yesterday and sent off the order form with the ashes, and they have a lovely way of doing it. I think that process takes 4 to 6 weeks, so should be with me maybe by middle of April. And so I'm really looking forward to having that. But what I did in the meantime was I took her tag and I added it on to my regular necklace. So this says, Lily, please scan me. I am chipped. And I've worn this pretty much every day. And it is comforting. I find it really comforting. And so there will be a lovely little ruby coloured bead that goes on here when it's ready, and that will have her ashes in and a little inscription. So as I say, I found it really helpful to do that. I obviously haven't seen the pieces yet, and perhaps I'll post another video when the pieces come back. I know that I'm going to cry bucket loads when I see them, but that will be really amazing to do that. And I'll update in the notes. The other thing that I've done, and I've not used this company before, is a company called Photo Box. I went through all of the photos that I have, which involved actually digging within my Hotmail account back years and years and years to try and find everything from puppy photos to all the way through. And there will be photos that are stored elsewhere that I just haven't even got to yet, but I am so lucky. I have so many photos of Lily that are amazing, photos and videos, and I wasn't able to watch anything in the first few days. I was crying so much just at memories that I just or just feeling the loss so acutely that I just couldn't bear to watch a video. But I did record a lot, even in her last days, and they brought me some comfort. I wasn't sure how I'd feel watching them back, but they have actually brought me some comfort, because what I saw was a Lily that actually right up until Friday afternoon was showing signs of enjoying life. And I realised that actually, even though her body was shutting down, she was still able to enjoy those final last days. And it was only really the Saturday and Sunday that she was taking that turn downhill. So I did find that comforting, and also just the way that I was with her. I could hear myself talking on the videos, and it helped me see that whatever actions I could have taken, wish I'd taken, or not taken, I really felt that I was treating her with complete love and compassion. And to hear me do that, and to see me trying to do my best for her, that gave me a lot of comfort. So if you're in those last days with your pet, if you've arranged for euthanasia or anything like that, and you've come across this video and you're sort of preparing to grieve for your pet, then I'd really encourage you to just know that you are doing your best, and you will do your best. And if you want to, if it's not painful, take some footage. Record those last days. I thought I might find them too harrowing, but in actual fact, it's been the opposite for me. So equally, some people might just want to remember the good times and remember them as they were, and that's fine too. There's no right or wrong, and you must just give yourself compassion. That's the most important thing that you can do. Be true to yourself. So yeah, photo box. I've been going through these photos, and I have ordered various things like canvas collages and things like that. I've ordered some things for other people as well. There are certain people who Lily had really close relationships, certain friends of mine that would look after her or take her out for walks, and so I felt I really wanted to do something. And also there were some people whose dogs had their own relationships with Lily as well, and so I wanted to get something done for them. So that's in progress, and will probably come back next week. Again, as I say, I think just these things are really helpful to do, because it makes me feel like I'm honouring her, and also just gives me practically something to do. So yeah, and it's nice for other people as well, and I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm sure it'll be tearful as well, but I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing people's faces when they've stopped crying and they see that they've got a little reminder of the relationship that they specifically had, and the names that they specifically used for her, because she had a lot of nicknames. Her name was Lily, but to me she was also the Putts, as in Lily Putt. And some people called her Lily Putt, some Lily Putts, some of the Putts, some Lilykins was one of them. Putt. Just so many names, and yeah, so it's really nice to do that for people as well. And the other thing I'd say is, in those first few days, one of the hardest things that I had to do, well, I didn't have to do it, but I wanted to do it, I guess, was to put out on social media that she was gone. And I wanted to do that because she has been such a massive part of, well, all parts of my life, but certainly in running my online business. I just realised over the last few years, since 2016, I've been online and running my coaching company, and we've been in so many training programs, and with clients, with friends, with people who've been following the business page and things like that, that this is mainly on Facebook, but we're also on Instagram as well. And pop the links down below if you want to check them out. And so I really wanted to just mark that occasion and let people know. And I was overwhelmed by the messages that I got back. And, you know, that was also really hard. That's part of the reason that I was just crying so much, because a message would come up, a comment would come up, and I would realise how loved she was. And also I would feel supported, which is really nice, because we're still in lockdown in the UK, and it's been winter, and I think I've been finding it a bit harder this lockdown than the previous one, when the weather was beautiful and I was out in the garden with Lily. This is extra hard now. But yeah, so I think just having that support and just knowing it was there was absolutely amazing, but it was also the hardest thing ever, and it led to a lot of tears. And of course there are always people close to you and close to your pet that are going to cry down the phone at you, and you're going to want to hold it together just for them. But also you're going to cry, and that's okay. So whatever it is what it is. And I hope that gives you some comfort. It can be difficult to find comfort, but it is there, and I think we can take the time to feel it and really feel that there are so many other people who have been through what we're going through now. And you'll be drawn to it online, because you'll be looking at memorial things and you will see other people's tributes to their pets. Oh, and the other thing that I've done, I've got some mugs done, which I hope they work out well. I've never used the company before. It's a company called Gosby, and they're the most expensive mugs I think I've ever bought. I think one of them was like £23 by the time you put on postage and packaging and tax. And it's one of those things where you don't find out until checkout. Bit annoying, but anyway, so I'm really looking forward to seeing them, because the designs were amazing. That's why I took the chance. I looked at some of the reviews online after I'd ordered them and thought, oh my goodness, I don't know. There were some negative reviews, but hey, I thought it was worth taking a punt, because they are just beautiful. And so there are some certain people in my life that will be getting one of those mugs, and yeah, they're amazing. So yeah, is there anything else that I want to say? It can feel at times like, I know I've certainly thought, am I ever going to get back to a time when I don't feel this deep sadness? And I think I know in my logical brain that I will feel joy again. And it doesn't feel that way at the moment. It feels I just feel really sad a lot of the time. And I know that's a normal way to feel when you're grieving. But I must admit, had it pop into my head, am I ever going to feel joy again? And also the other thing is, some things that I guess occupied my thoughts before Lily took ill, so like a week before she died, happened really quickly. Some of the things that have dominated my thoughts, some of the things in my business to do with things like making money. I mean, that's been like a really weird thing as well. Though there's been some, I tend to batch my content. For anybody who doesn't run an online business, what this means is that I'll have periods where I use a scheduling tool, which is a little bit like an app, which just you can basically create a load of posts and things to go out on social media, and you can schedule them to go out on certain days. And I sometimes do this where I'll have like I'll be feeling extra creative, and I'll just really get my thoughts out on paper, and I will like do a batch of content. And then that means that if there are days where I don't feel like posting, or I'm busy with other things, or I'm busy with client work or whatever, it means that content will go out. And when Lily was ill, and then when I took a week off work afterwards, I really didn't do anything at all for about a week. And I just, I had content going out. So business didn't stop, business sort of kept going. And, you know, that means that, you know, I felt no need to be in the business as such. I was just completely focusing on her, and then on my own grief, and doing what I needed to do. So why was I telling you about that? I think I lose my thread sometimes, and I can't remember what it was I was saying. I was probably just trying to say about how helpful that was to kind of not have that pressure. But yeah, I was also talking about how I just wondered whether I'd ever like feel any joy about anything, and also some things like making money, like business things going out. And there was that's what it was. There was a post that was like coming out, which was all to do with money. And I mean, you know, for any of you who know me, you know a bit of my backstory. You know that I've had times where my entire financial life has been a real shit show, basically. And I turned it around, even though I let it get really bad. Part of that was kind of like a hangover from, you know, bad business decisions, or even global economic crisis. If you go back far enough, if you go back to 2007-8. But I've just now put makeup on my wall. Brilliant. I'll have to clean that later. Yeah, so, and because I turned that around, obviously, you know, this is something that I share with my audience, because I think it's actually proved to be a really cool thing that I did turn it around. And I'll tell you for why. Because when Lily was ill, and it came down to having the money for surgery or not, or, you know, just knowing that I had money in the bank for her treatment, that was something that I could do. And that at least meant that I wasn't having this massive financial stress that, you know, I really feel for you if you are going through that. And I would just encourage you to reach out to the dog loving community, who are so amazing. People help people with treatment for their animals. They do help financially, and I've seen it happen. And so this is one of the ways in which social media can be really helpful. I know that it's got its dark side as well, but it can be incredibly helpful as a way of connecting people that are like-minded. So please don't struggle. Please reach out to the dog-loving community, to, you know, breed-specific communities, and see what they can do to help. But I think the fact that this post went out and it was all about money, and I've got a course on money, about how to really turn things around, sharing a lot of the things that I've learned over the years, which have helped me to completely turn around my financial situation, so that instead of being incredibly stressed out about things, I actually do have that financial peace, that I know these kind of basic things are all covered, and I don't have to worry about money anymore. And that has been like such an amazing thing. But when this post popped up, it was only like a couple of days, I think, after she died, and I thought, instinctively I thought, oh, this is really weird that there's a post going out about money. And then I thought, well, no, this isn't really weird at all, because this is really important work. This is something that has made all the difference in this situation. Like, I would have been so stressed out had I had I been worried about how I was going to afford surgery or anything like that. And yet, because of the work that I'd done in the past, that was an important lesson, important for me to recognise as well. And yet, I know that if you're going through this at the moment, you'll probably think that a lot of the things that you are thinking or doing just on a day-to-day basis, you know, the things that you do where you're going about your daily life and you're not giving any thought to the fact that it might be the last week that you spend with your loved one. And after the event, you will think, why the hell did I spend my time worrying about this? Why was I concerned with my to-do list? You know, why was I concerned about where I was in life, or what I had or hadn't achieved, or what I was working towards? It'll all feel completely meaningless, and you'll wish you'd done none of it, thought none of it, and you wish that you just poured absolutely everything into your loved one. And I think that's normal too. But, and as I wrote about when I went back to work after about a week, as I say, of not feeling like I wanted to do anything, be anywhere, talk to anyone. When I got back to work, I wrote this post where I basically was saying the things that you wanted that were soul aligned, that were purpose, from your purpose, that were from your heart, the things that matter to you as a person, that you value, whether they're goals or principles or, you know, things you want to do, things you want to bring into your life, they will all remain and they will come back because they will never let go of you. And so it's okay to feel that certain things are meaningless, and if there are areas of your life that were out of balance, you know, this is one time in your life where you will recognise what those are in potentially quite a painful way, and yet they can also be great teachers too. If things are out of balance and, you know, maybe you think, no, I really shouldn't have been wasting my days thinking about this, worrying about this, when there were so many more important things to worry about, or well, not to worry about, there are so many more important places to focus your attention and your energy. That's okay. Take it as a lesson. It's fine. Again, don't beat yourself up about it. I think that's really important, that it's normal to go about our daily lives, and yeah, you know, where I was saying before about, will I ever feel joy again, and will I ever stop feeling this tremendous sadness that I feel at the moment so regularly? And the answer is, yeah, I will. I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to, you know, I'll be able to think of Lily and not cry and not be sad. I'll be able to think of, you know, memories and they'll make me feel good. And there'll be more times where I'm not actively thinking about her, but I just, you know, I know that she's always going to be with me, and I know that I'm always going to appreciate her for everything that she did and everything that she was in my life. But at the same time, I know that life goes on, and I also know that there are things that I will go on living to do. And I was just debating in my mind whether to share this or not, because it's quite controversial and yeah, potentially feels quite private, but let me share it anyway then, because I think it's important that I don't edit myself. One of the things that I remember thinking in the earliest days, and I'm not really thinking this now, I thought it's so painful, I just wish I could be with her. And I really thought, I was thinking about all sorts of things. I really thought, if there was, not that I would have ended my life deliberately, but if it had happened, an accident or something, or, you know, that syndrome, what's it, the broken heart syndrome or something like that, where people have such a deep emotional connection that they, you know, they end up having this thing where they die later. Like, you hear of people who, like couples who are massively in love and spend their lives together, and then one can't live without the other, and the other dies like a couple of days later or something. I'm just sharing this. You can tell I'm uncomfortable sharing it. I just don't want to go there. But I know how painful this is, and so it'd be wrong of me not to share it. Because you might be going through this and thinking that your thoughts are wrong. I don't want you to think that. I have thought, you know, if that happened, at least I could see her. Because I was just finding the pain just too much. And I can tell. It feels like waves when it comes over you. It's like you'll be fine 1 minute, and then the next minute you just, it's just all too much again. Realise this could be a really painful video for people to watch, but at the same time I think maybe it's also part of the healing process that actually, you know, if we're watching stuff, and I've watched videos online since she died, and it can be helpful just to let it go, just release it all, release the emotions instead of keeping them all kind of inside, really. And for some of us, that's our outlet. That's what we've got, because maybe we haven't got a partner that feels the same way, that we can't share with, or we're trying to protect loved ones from the same feelings of grief, and so we don't maybe say the things that we want to say. And on the internet, obviously, we can share whatever. And you know, it's cool if somebody doesn't want to watch this and can't bear to watch it and switches off, then that's totally fine too. And far be it from me to think that I could help everybody, because grief is so different and everybody expresses it differently, feels it differently, wants to do different things in the circumstances. Like for me, it's been amazing doing these memorial things, but for other people that just wouldn't be comforting. So yeah, you will find your own way through it though, and there will come a time, and I know there will come a time in my life, and in fact 12 days on, it's kind of the times that feel a little bit more kind of normal are increasing, and I'm having fewer of these massive waves of grief coming over me, and the fewer crying moments even now. So you will get past this immediately really acute part of the grieving process, and life will start to return in a new form. And you know what I said at the beginning of the video about switching routines, you know, it just didn't feel right to me to completely switch and have a new morning routine. I know certainly since I started going big on personal development, since I started teaching in the personal development industry, having a morning routine, changing habits, having an evening routine that prepares you for the next day, and you know, all these things contribute to your feeling of wellness and calm. And obviously, as a queen of calm, you know, that's going to be a big part of what I do and what I teach, and it has been. But at the same time, I didn't feel ready to jump into a new routine. And honestly, a lot of the things that I was doing became less what I wanted to do. So it'll be really interesting to see how that evolves over the next kind of few weeks, and see if I feel like doing some new things, or even like rearranging furniture, or how I use rooms, or where I record videos, that sort of thing. How I go about structuring my work day, because Lily was just so much a part of that. It's really just hard for me to describe, but anybody who's been in a coaching program with me will know that she was front and center all the time and always part of the conversation. So that's just such a massive change for me, and I'm just going to give myself the grace to let it evolve into something else. I am really open, and this is something that I've been thinking about as well, that you might be struggling with at the moment, or you might be thinking about whether to get another pet. Like for me, low battery. For me, I am going to wrap this up soon actually, but for me, dogs are just such a massive part of my life. I just adore dogs, and I'm like the Pied Piper when it comes to meeting dogs when we're out, and they all just gravitate towards me and I gravitate towards them. That's always been the case, but it's not the same for my partner, and so I have to be sensitive to that. So I don't know at this stage whether there will be another dog in my life, but certainly I really miss Lily's physical presence, and that is something that I think dogs are just such an enormous part of life experience, that for me not to have another dog at any point is inconceivable. So yeah, it remains to be seen how that will work out, but none of us knows how life is going to work out, do we? None of us knows what's around the corner and how our lives might change and what becomes more or less important. So I'm open to magic. I'm totally open to a dog that needs my help just turning up on my front doorstep and or winning over my partner in some way, and that being my reality, or something else something else equally magical and unbelievable. I do believe in unbelievable things happening because in many areas of my life I've experienced this directly. As you all know, if you've worked with me, I don't always operate out of completely the logical. I certainly like the illogical in my life as well, and I totally, believe in it. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens on that front. I think I need to leave it here. I hope that I've shared something. I can only share from my experience, and as I say, everybody experiences grief differently. But what I wanted to end by saying is that I hope that you will comfort yourself in any way that you want and not question whether it's okay or not. And I'd love for you to reach out if you're going through this right now. Please share in the comments if you share your story, if that comforts you, and it would help to feel part of a community of people who know what you're going through, and it would just help to have a little bit of love back, even if it's just an acknowledgement of a like or something. Then I would really encourage you to do that, and I will respond to every comment. So yeah, I'll leave it there, but I really feel for you if you're going through this at the moment. I will try and post an update when some of these lovely things come through, just to share. And also, as I said, I leave things linked down in the description. This is not a normal video. There aren't going to be links to sales pages like there normally are in my videos. I always link to programs that I have on offer. There's not going to be anything like that, and I certainly am not an affiliate for any of these companies. I'm sharing them. I'm not necessarily recommending them, but I will come back certainly when I've got the products, and I will add if I would recommend them, but there are no affiliate links. This is not what this video has been about, and I just hope that it's been helpful in some way. And I care for you. I care for you deeply if you're going through the same situation. Take care of yourself. Take care of number one, okay? And I will speak to you soon. Bye.